everybody. Welcome to the Control Solid Delete podcast, CSD Cast for short. This is a podcast about all things gaming, all things fun in gaming. That's right, we talk about video games, tabletop board games, D&D, game music, and audio. I'm your host, Brattoli, and just to get the housekeeping out of the way, this podcast is recorded in video format, posted on our YouTube channel. That's right, I'm staring right at you at the camera. Along with our other amazing planned video content, will be up there up on YouTube as well. While the audio version of the show airs every Tuesday on all major podcast streaming platforms. And hey, if you want to leave a comment on iTunes, it'll be fully appreciated. Make sure to join or follow our list on our website, csdcast.com, so you don't miss most of our content, including all of our socials. At CSDcast is the usual handle for these accounts. Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And if you'd like to submit a question to be answered on our podcast, submit it to email at csdcast.com. That's email at csdcast.com. We will read it and answer it the best we can on air. And you could see it live sometimes if we decide to stream. We do have a Twitch channel, which is CSD Live. There might be some events in the future, so stay tuned for that. And last but not least, we will be launching a Patreon account right after this first episode airs, which will be packed full of exclusive content for you guys. So definitely stay tuned for that. And that, again, that includes some special live streams and other things. So, again, welcome to episode 1 on this allergy-infested day that is Tuesday. Man, it's, actually it's Wednesday. I don't even know what day it is. See what happens. Yeah, this weather has been kind of nuts. I'm sure those in California are aware. There's been the storm coming. It's actually on its way. It sort of was cloudy yesterday, but it's clear right now and just windy, which is odd based on how it looked yesterday. It seemed like this thing was going to just take over the sky, but, here we are. We have the wind and a bit of cold weather, but it looks like we're going to have some rain and more crazy wind coming up. Up to like 80 miles per hour is what I saw. So hopefully everyone's doing well. This podcast, we started it back in 2017. We've had a few iterations of it since then. So this is hopefully the final format that will stick with us, and hopefully you guys like it. So we're going to keep going with this. All right, that's enough of that kind of thing. Let's get into the next segment, which I like to call This Week Review. Week. All right. So, as you can tell by the title, it's kind of a play on words. Week meaning, yes, it's the review for this week, and week meaning it's going to be extremely weak of a review because, we're not professionals here, and it's just for fun anyway. So, this week review pick is, a very small indie game called Hogwarts Legacy, made by just the smallest of studios, Warner Brothers. They don't produce anything ever, so... But first of all, whatever your feelings are about J.K. Rowling, just please don't let that inhibit your ability to think objectively about the game itself. I mean, I give tremendous credit to the dev team on this one. The attention to detail is just absolutely insane. I mean, they went... If you just look at the bathroom, for instance, there's some videos on this, even TikToks going around, people just showing how accurate the visual representation is of the writing in this game. It is just absolutely nuts. The gameplay itself is also great. Movement and spells feel fantastic. Sometimes, the running, sprinting, and there's no turnaround mechanic, so it is kind of annoying sometimes when you're running away from something and you want to quickly look around the other direction and cast a spell to not die. But other than that, the movement does feel pretty good. I also think this game might be a Game of the Year contender, honestly. It's I was expecting it to be kind of a disaster just because of how all these big AAA games are coming out lately. That kind of unfinished, just not really, uh, just missing content that should have been there at release. This one just has it all. There's just, I didn't see any issue or anything missing. I heard in the ether that there were some video kind of graphics issues. Um, I didn't really experience much of that, luckily. So I think the Steam port is pretty good. And yeah, that's kind of all I have to say about that. Just short and probably not very helpful as a review, but that's why this segment exists. So here we go. Moving right along to the next one, which actually before we do that, to read more about this game, typically we'll have another kind of weak-ish written review on our website, csdcast.com. There might be one for this one, so head on over there and check that out. But in the meantime, let's get into our next segment called Spelunking the Catacombs. All right, here we are. So, I titled this segment to kind of get us into the world of Dungeons and Dragons, or D&D. For those who may not know, myself and all the rest of us that are, well, they're still part of the CSD crew, are, big nerds. So we decided to start playing D&D. So for a bit of background, I'm actually fairly new to the D&D scene. I kind of started playing with the campaign Horde of the Dragon Queen back in 2018, 2019. So this is one that I would actually recommend as an intro campaign for anyone looking to start playing. It's pretty, well, I don't want to say simple, but it's pretty simple enough in terms of being able to DM the game and for all your players to kind of get into the world of D&D 5th edition or 5e. It is still kind of involved though, but again, it's easy enough to start playing with your group. So I also recommend having a player group no larger than 5 people. We had 8 people originally, maybe 9 actually, when we first started that campaign, and a single battle would last like 2 hours. And just to keep up with what that means, each round in game counts as, 6 seconds? So 2 hours of battling in real time, with maybe 2 or 3 rounds. It's only less than a minute in the game. So it's kind of silly how long that takes. But yeah, 5 people, good group. It's it's really fun to keep playing with these people. Another hard part about it is you want to try and keep a consistent group of 5 people. It's kind of rough to keep bringing in like subs, or you can't really do that. You have to basically postpone the game till everyone's available and make sure that that same group can keep playing, because things happen that require everybody to like take notes and just kind of be the same people so we know what's going on. All right, anyway. Another tidbit here, this whole nonsense about the Wizard of the Coast's OGL regarding D&D and D&D Beyond is widely misunderstood, I think. So I just had to make sure to say just a little thing about it, just in case any listeners out there or viewers have any negative opinion about Wizard of the Coast, which again is certainly justified with some of the other stuff they've been doing. But I'd venture to say again that it's like a similar vein to the J.K. Rowling thing. Let's try to think objectively here about the game itself. So D&D has been around since the 1970s, so 5th edition is probably the best edition of the game to boot. And we can still have a good time playing with our friends and just not really have to worry about the minutia of all that stuff that's going on. They did come out eventually and apologize basically and say this, they've taken everybody's feedback and kind of rolled back some of the things that they've said in their OGL release versions and came out with the final one, I think. So hopefully everyone is happy enough with that. And okay, so anyway, back to the good stuff here. So I myself am actually involved in 3 separate D&D campaigns. I'm the DM for a campaign called Tales from the Yawning Portal. This campaign is pretty cool. It's actually designed by having, I think there's like 5 different campaigns, just kind of dating back actually from the 70s that have all been revamped and then combined together to create this larger full campaign that allows players to reach up to level 15 at the end. So in running this campaign, I decided to go with a virtual tabletop called Foundry to handle all the maps, character sheets, moderation, and all that. And it's a really cool program. It allows players to connect from all over into your server instance via the internet. So that server instance can be just running on your computer at home. You can have it on a Raspberry Pi. You can have an actual server if you want. You can even run it locally and bring a laptop with you or something, and people can connect to it over the internet via the local IP address that you get. This recent stint of the game that we played had a bit of an issue with that. My computer was having issues, and I had to end up sending it back to CyberPower. Yes, I got it pre-built. It just made more sense at the time because I wanted a high-end graphics card, and it was just really difficult to do the part picker thing and just try and get these parts separately. So pre-built from CyberPower was the best deal that I found, so that's what I went with. Of course, I had a lot of issues with that. I had to send it in. They ended up actually having me to replace the video card entirely, which is a good thing. I still had parts warranty because a 3090 is very expensive and didn't have that money just lying around, so good on them for that and finding that issue. But anyway, so the campaign, we were running it from my computer, and it kept losing connection, and I would come back home to check on it and would find that my computer was completely frozen because the display driver, some hardware just completely failed on it and it just stuck there. So I ended up pulling all the files onto a external hard drive and then brought that with me to our friend's house to continue the campaign. I ended up creating like a map character, and this I used to control on the, we had like a little TV on the table that was displaying the map so that all the players didn't have to bring, 700 laptops with them to connect into the game. Using Foundry themselves, I could just moderate everything and control it all from my side and allow them to see the map that they're venturing through. So that's pretty cool. Yes, so it's very helpful to do that. Just because I originally, when we started these campaigns, I had moved out of state. So it's pretty cool to be able to connect over the internet and still play this game through virtual tabletop. And everybody can still kind of be in a Discord call or whatever and just have fun playing no matter where you are. Now, of course, since all of our assets and player character sheets and everything was saved in the program, we continue to use this even meeting with person, although I did recently switch to physical paper. We're trying that now just because of the whole computer thing and making sure that nothing gets lost or whatever. And because the character sheets are built into the game or to the tabletop, it was difficult to export those out. So I ended up just kind of manually writing them out for everybody. And then we made some tweaks on it if we needed to during the campaign. So yes, so my friend, Matt, who is one of the co-hosts here, you've heard his name before if you followed the podcast originally. He has one of the Wormwood gaming tables, the one that has the panels on top. You can take them off and has a crank, so the table kind of goes down into itself, and this nice felt inlet in there. You can have miniatures and whatever else in there. So we've been using that, and again, I had the table or the TV in the table, projecting the map onto that. So that was a lot of fun to use that. So our last few sessions, obviously, we've gone over there to play on that because that's what that tables for, and it's pretty awesome. So, anyway, so that's that campaign. The second campaign I'm involved in is The Curse of Strahd, which is, a standard one. A lot of people play. And that one I decided to play like kind of an outside race, like a Kenku, which is that bird or raven-looking race. And I chose a monk as the class. The DM allowed basically any race. So Kenku is from Volo's Guide to Monsters, which is a newer 5th edition book. That's some other cool races in it. So like I said, a Kenku is basically a crow-like humanoid, so I thought it would be very interesting to be that as a monk. Typically Kenkus are known for their thievery and just kind of malicious nature. So I was trying to be like a born-again monk and kind of doing reparations and whatever for my past and making sure that I'm showing up that I'm a good guy, really. So yeah, the DM on this one is very story heavy, so there's not a whole lot of combat happening in this campaign. Granted, I don't think there's a lot in Curse of Strahd anyway, but he gets really deep into the story and lore behind everything, which is a pretty cool approach. And every DM has their own style. I mean, I'm learning as I go, so I'm incorporating a lot of different things and just seeing what sticks. And that's just how you learn and grow and keep playing. And the third and final campaign that we haven't quite started yet is going to be, well, it was originally going to be 100% homebrewed by Matt, but he has since told me that he might choose to do Ghost of the Salt Marsh instead, just because doing 100% of the map creation and the story and everything is taking quite a long time, and not everybody can be Matt Mercer, so... if you don't know who that is, look him up. Look up Critical Role. For that campaign, though, he told us to pick elements, so I don't know if we're going to keep with that that formula or whatever, but I chose a Genasi Paladin. Genasi are elemental in nature, so I chose an air Genasi just because, Aang. And if you haven't seen that, definitely watch Avatar: Last Airbender. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I really hope you do at this point. But anyway, he was going to go with this element theme, so naturally we all kind of evolved to pick the Genasi race because they all have different elements attached to them. Air, water, fire, earth, and I think it would be fun because originally it wasn't going to stick to a campaign book, but it'll still be fun. Ghost of Saltmarsh is really involved, so I haven't read too much into it just because he might be DMing that when I don't want to metagame, but all right. The last part of this D&D thing, I would like to get into a little bit of news from them. So the first thing I have here is, actually the only thing I have here is just kind of 2 new additions to their collection of their 5e library. So the first one is called Keys from the Golden Vault, which is a campaign that's just, it seems like a collection of heist adventures. I believe it just came out, so it is available right now on D&D Beyond if it's something that you want to look at. Again, I know the whole boycott thing with D&D Beyond, so you might not want to give Wizards of the Coast any money, but this campaign looks pretty cool. Again, if you want to go on heists, that's the campaign for you. Again, it's called Keys from the Golden Vault. The second one is called Dragonlance, which is relatively new. It came out this past December in 2022, so it's only a few months old at this point. And I think it looks kind of like a sequel to Hoard of the Dragon Queen, so it brings that whole story together with a couple new adventures. So that's it for the D&D portion. So typically the next segment that we have is something we call Looking Out for the Little Guy. And we browse Kickstarter and just find like some Kickstarter projects that we think resonates with us in some way and that will be like recommended for everyone else to play. So I didn't actually end up having time to pick any this week, so it looks like that'll be omitted for now, but look for that next week. We'll have some more Kickstarter spotlights. We also typically put them up on our website, So you might see them anyway, which again, csdcast.com. You might see these picks regardless of it being heard on this episode or not of the podcast. You'll see it on our website, and you can check those out on Kickstarter. But we will now move to another segment called Game Music and Audio. All right. So I felt that since I now have a degree in film music and video game composition, I would add a segment that we could talk about game music and audio and sound design. So since this week's review was about the game Hogwarts Legacy, I thought we'd dig into the music and audio a little bit for this game. Sounds fitting, right? So as one could imagine, taking on the role of composer for a game set in the world of Harry Potter is probably quite the challenge. We have John Williams, who created all of these amazing themes that everybody could basically whistle and sing at this point. Like, you just know the Harry Potter theme. If someone were to ask you to sing it, you probably could, unless you're not a fan of the movies or anything. Then I'm sorry for you. But the composer for Hogwarts Legacy is J. Scott Riccozzi, and he just took this head on and just absolutely killed it. I mean, again, John Williams is quite the contender when talking about famous film scores. So since he did the original Harry Potter films, that iconic sound and those themes are, it's just really hard to compete against. Sorry, as I said, allergies are just full force today. So any fan, like I said, could likely sing the main themes from the Harry Potter movies in their sleep. So Riccozzi had the added challenge of making the music in this game sound like Williams' Harry Potter soundscape world, without exactly just ripping off the music. So it is very fantasy. It has that full orchestra sound to it. It did take some of the themes, like I think it's Harry's Wondrous World, or just the main theme, the da do da do dee dee doo, that one. He used that in like a Celesta or Celeste or Celeste, depending on how you want to pronounce it. So that theme is played basically when you complete a quest. So you hear the little ding, 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 and like that's a good homage to the themes in the movies. But everything else, I don't remember it having anything to do with John Williams' music. It's all original stuff. Even the title theme for the game is nowhere near anything in the Harry Potter films. So again, when you're creating stuff that's like a sound alike, you really need to not rip off the original music unless it is contracted where you have to do like a cover or a mock-up version of some of the original stuff, which again, that happened for that little dingy thing when you complete a quest, but everything else again is pretty original. And the sound design in this game, I believe Riccozzi also did the sound design, which is amazing. I mean, the spells, like, I of course went kind of a dark wizard path, so I use all the curses in the game. I mean, just using Crucio, for instance, the immense sound that comes out of that spell when you cast it is just, there's something really rewarding about it, even though it's a curse. So some people might not want to use those just because they're a fan of the lore and everything, and it's just kind of against your nature. but oh man, it just has this boominess to it, this really deep bass, just hits you right in the stomach, kind of. I mean, it makes sense for a curse, right? There's everything else too. I mean, the wispy noises when you're flying through the air on a broom, Just even something as simple as running on different terrain. The sound design was really well thought out. I think just the game as a whole is just very well done. And sound design is just another facet of being it's not really composing, but it kind of is at the same time, because you're also, to say it, not all composers are sound designers, and not all sound designers are composers. So usually you have a team that is separate for each of those types of things in audio. So you might bring on a composer to do just the music, and then you have a sound design team that does all of that stuff. I've been dabbling in sound design, and it's pretty interesting. So the main things that you do is find sounds around you, record them, and manipulate them to make it sound like something else. We'll use Star Wars, for example. I believe the sound for the blasters was literally, they went out to the field, they have this metal stick or whatever, and they hit this metal pole or metal chain covering, and it made that sound, that we all know as the blaster sound. I can't really do it with my mouth, but it made that kind of noise. Like that's sound design. You go out into the world, it's called field recording, and you just take samples of all of these environmental sounds, or it's almost like being a Foley artist in a way. If you don't know what that is, those are the people that make like punch noises and sword swipes and anything else that you might see in a movie. Very common in like kung fu movies, like all the that kind of stuff. That's all Foley art. That's not them actually punching each other. Like the sound of a punch, it's pretty much like skin on. It's just, there's not a whole lot going on there, so they need to make it more exciting. So maybe they'll have like a giant mallet or something, and they'll smack a tree stump, or I don't know, something like that. It can be anything, and you just you can use software to manipulate it and make it sound more punchy, more boomy, more trebly, less boomy, whatever it is. You can manipulate stuff like that. Sound design also is not limited to sound effects. It could also be maybe you're manipulating an audio track of yours, so you have like a synthesizer. Maybe you're playing some notes on that. You run it through some sound design software, make it sound all wobbly or something like that. It's not limited to sound effects. So my knowledge on that is not as high as it is for composing. So take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. But in the grand scheme of things, that's basically what sound design is. Just recording sounds, manipulating it to make it match the aesthetic you're going for within a game or movie. All right, well, that's kind of all I have for today. As you can see, my nose is clogging up more and more as we continue. So let's move on to the closing. All right, so at this time, we would normally read all your emails if you send them in. But again, make sure if you would like to send in anything to us, that would be email@csdcast.com. That's you can send your questions, thoughts, comments, concerns, theories, anything you want about what's going on with us or what's going on with you when I hear about it. So again, thank you everyone for listening to the Control Salt Delete podcast. I've been your host, Hunter Brattoli. Make sure to follow us again on all our socials at CSDcast on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Stay up to date for more content and future content. And you can also follow us and join our follow list on our website, csdcast.com. And again, that's kind of our main hub. So that's going to have all of our reviews, our uploaded content, Kickstarter picks, and all of that. So make sure to follow us there. And again, thank you for listening and watching. I hope to see you on the next episode.